8 foods that can affect on your unborn baby's health.
Every woman who has ever been pregnant could say that there is no end to the myths and superstitions surrounding expectant moms. From worries about sleeping positions and labor to touching receipt paper and going outside during an eclipse, women all over the world are suddenly subject to everyone telling them how to behave, starting right from the moment they become pregnant. Each culture has its own unique superstitions and myths, often stemming from folkloric or religious traditions. Of course, today we have the benefit of science. We're surrounded by medical professionals who can definitively clear up the mystery around many of the myths that we hear. When a woman is pregnant, advice starts flowing from all quarters of the family. Some suggest the expected mother to start eating for two. Some advise her to quit her job. The elderly or the experienced in the family give her all sorts of remedies to keep pregnancy aches and pains at bay. She is given traditionally prepared food to gorge on and told to strictly limit her work that would require her to travel a lot or lift heavy weights. In fact, the husband is also forced to make sacrifices, as the couple is asked to turn celibate till the delivery. 1. Milk infused with saffron. Myths relating to pregnancy and childbirth vary a lot from culture to culture. One of the most predominant myths in India is that drinking milk infused with saffron will give the baby a fair complexion. We wouldn't be surprised if this myth grew out of a general preference for fair-skinned children. This myth exists in several forms across the globe and often extends to the consumption of dairy products in general. Of course, there is absolutely no truth to this myth. Skin tone is a result of genetics, not the mom-to-be's nutritional choices, a point that we will see come up again and again. Yet there are some important reasons why mom may want to make milk a regular part of her pregnancy diet. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, both of which are vital for baby's development. 2. Chocolate. There are a number of myths related to the consumption of chocolate during pregnancy. Some assert that chocolate should be avoided because the caffeine that naturally occurs in chocolate could be harmful. Others suggest that eating chocolate may result in a happier, gigglier baby. The myth we're talking about here is even more outlandish, the idea that chocolate can influence the baby's complexion. In some cultures, it is thought that consuming chocolate, or other dark foods such as coffee and dates, will result in a baby with a darker complexion. Just like the belief that consuming milk will lead to a fairer complexion, this one is complete hogwash. There's absolutely no proof that eating chocolate, or any other dark foods for that matter, will influence the skin tone of the baby. So, if chocolate is your vice, feel free to indulge during this special time. 3. Crab. Here's an interesting one. In some parts of China, it is still widely believed that pregnant women should avoid eating crabs for the duration of the pregnancy. Why? Well, because the baby will end up with extra fingers and toes, of course. We're unsure why some people believe this. Perhaps it grew out of a regional folktale? Or maybe it has to do with the number of legs a crab has? Of course, there is no reason to avoid eating crab while pregnant. In fact, crabs can be a part of a healthy and balanced diet. Just watch your portion sizes, and as with all seafood, do not exceed the recommended amount for women who are expecting. This will limit the baby's potential exposure to mercury. And as always, check with a medical professional if you are ever unsure about what is safe to eat while expecting. 4. Meat. As any pregnant woman is all too aware, people will always be more than willing to give you advice on how to live your life when pregnant. Sometimes the advice makes sense and is medically sound, like avoiding alcohol. And sometimes the advice seems to come out of left field, like avoiding strawberries. This next pregnancy-related food myth comes to us from Tanzania, and it's a doozy. Women in Tanzania are often advised against eating meat during their pregnancy. In and of itself, this isn't so weird. Plenty of people are cautioned against eating red meat while pregnant. And we all know we're supposed to avoid certain fish and seafood during this time. In Tanzania, it is thought that eating meat will cause the baby to be born with the physical traits of the animals consumed. It should go without saying that there is zero scientific evidence for this particular belief. 5. Junk and junk food. Common advice given during pregnancy, or for that matter at any time a person's stomach is sensitive, is to avoid eating spicy and junk foods. This is to avoid aggravating the stomach further and, hopefully, aid in relieving some of the worst symptoms. So, it's not a surprise that many pregnant women hear this a lot. And, honestly, this advice is probably great in certain circumstances. It turns out that in some countries the reason for avoiding spicy food is a lot more serious. Some people believe that eating spicy foods will cause a baby to be born blind, because the spices will burn at their eyes as they develop. This is, of course, not true in the slightest. Spicy foods are perfectly safe during pregnancy, though some women may find they are more comfortable if they steer clear until baby is here. 6. Soda. This next one is another no-brainer, really. Soda is not a healthy drink at any part of the life cycle, so consuming it is certainly not the best choice to make during pregnancy. Soda tends to be high in artificial sweeteners, which, as we discussed earlier, can lead to bigger babies. A bigger baby, aside from the future health implications a larger size brings, is really something all expectant moms should be looking to avoid. Soda can also come with quite a bit of caffeine. And caffeine is definitely something to limit while pregnant. Pregnancy is such an important time for laying the groundwork of a healthy diet. So, set the sodas aside for the next 9 months. Instead, focus on drinking plenty of water, milk, and the occasional fruit juice. There will be plenty of time to enjoy sodas after pregnancy. 7. Honey and vinegar. We're sure that most pregnant women these days are aware that they should steer clear of raw honey while pregnant. This is an important dietary restriction to follow because raw honey carries a risk of foodborne illnesses. These can be particularly harmful for both mom and baby. Because this advice is such common knowledge today, it seems clear to us that this next myth must have originated before the modern day. Some people seem to think that consuming both honey and vinegar each day of the pregnancy will result in the baby being born with more hair. This is an interesting deviation from the common myth of heartburn during pregnancy, signaling that a baby will have a full head of hair. And much like the heartburn theory, there is not scientific evidence to back up this honey and vinegar myth. So, there's no need to suffer through eating a spoonful of vinegar. Blech. 8. Seafood. Seafood is the focus of many myths relating to pregnancy, as we have already seen with our discussion of crabs. The superstition is not limited just to shellfish. Seafood of all kinds has been unfairly maligned over the centuries. In some places, it is thought that eating seafood will cause children to come out upside down, be born late, or even behave gracefully. This particular seafood-based myth comes to us from Singapore. It turns out that some people in Singapore believe that eating seafood while pregnant will cause the baby to develop chronic skin problems including rashes and eczema. There is no reason to believe that this is true. In fact, seafood is a vital part of any healthy diet, pregnant or not. And besides, if this were true, we would certainly see an epidemic of skin problems reflected in the many cultures that have long relied on the sea for food. Thank you for watching our video. For more videos please subscribe.